Good morning, students. Today we are going to see Chapter 2 Forms of Business Organization. If one is planning to start a business or is interested in expanding an existing one, an important decision relates to the choice of form of organization. The most appropriate form is determined by weighing the advantages and disadvantages of each type of organization against one's own requirements. Various forms of business organizations from which one can choose a right, which are sole proprietorship, joint Hindu family business, partnership, cooperative societies, and joint stock some company, where we are going to see it in detail. Let us start our discussion with sole proprietorship, the simplest form of business organization, and then analyze it. Now, before that, you must know what is business organization. The term business organization refers to how a business is structured. It refers to a commercial or industrial enterprise and the people who continue it. There are different types of business organization. The first one is sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship, in the sense, it is a single trader. The second one is joint Hindu family business. Third one is partnership firm. And the fourth one is joint stock company, which is classified into private limited and public limited. And the next one is cooperative society. So these are the different types of business organization. To success in the business, definitely we have to choose a right type of business organization. Choosing a form of business organization. The choice of the form of business is governed by several interrelated and interdependent factors. We have to see the nature of business, which is very important factor. The scale of operations, whether it may be a large scale or small scale, and the size of market area, whether it must be in local or national or international. By choosing all this different several forms of business organization, one must be very careful in that. That means there must be a lot of analysis, whether it may be regarding the capital or location or liability or the risk or the control, like the different types of responsibility is there for a businessman before choosing a business organization. The degree of control desired by the owner, amount of capital required for the establishment and operation of the business, the volume of risk and liabilities, as I already said, as well as willingness of the owners to hear it, and comparative tax liability. Already we have seen about the different factors by have to choose it. The different factors we have to consider it before choosing any form of business organization. So these are the factors we have to keep it in mind before choosing the different forms of business organization, as I said. The first one, let us say it, sole proprietorship. Among all the business organization, sole proprietorship is a popular form of business organization and is a most suitable form for small business, especially in their initial years of operation. Sole proprietorship refers to a form of business organization which is owned, managed, and controlled by an individual who is the recipient of all profits and bearer of all risk. This form of business is particularly common in areas of personalized services. Let us see what is sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship refers to the form of business organization which is owned, managed, and controlled by an individual. Sole proprietorship means a single trader. He is a recipient of all the profits and bearer of all the risk. Sole proprietor is a type of business unit where a person is solely responsible. That means he is responsible for providing the capital, for bearing the risk of the enterprise, and for the management of business. The individual proprietorship is a form of business organization at the head of which stands at an individual as one who is responsible, who directs its operation, and who alone runs the risk of failure. Features of sole proprietorship. There are salient characteristics of sole proprietorship form of organization. They are easy formation and closure, one man ownership and control, sole risk bearer and recipient of profit, unlimited liability, no separate entity, lack of continuity of business. These are the features of sole proprietorship where we are going to see it in detail. The first feature of sole proprietorship is easy formation and closure. As I said, sole proprietorship means he is only a single trader. So, it is very easy to form the business. No legal formalities are required to start a sole proprietary business, though in some cases one may require a license. There is no separate law that governs sole proprietorship. Closure of the business can also be done easily. There is a ease in formation as well as close of business. The next one is one man ownership and control. The sole proprietor is a sole owner and controller of the business. The right to run the business and make all the decisions lies absolutely with the sole proprietor. He can carry out his plans without any interference from others. He alone makes all decisions relating to his business and carry out his plans. Sole risk bearer and recipient of profit. The risk of failure of business is borne all alone by the sole proprietor. However, if the business is successful, the proprietor enjoys all the benefits. He receives all the business from profits, which becomes a direct reward for the risk bearing. The next one is unlimited liability. Sole proprietorship has unlimited liability. It means that the owner is personally responsible for payment of debts in case the assets of the business are not sufficient to meet all the debts. So this is very important feature of sole proprietorship. Sole proprietors have unlimited liability, which implies that the owner is personally responsible for payment of debts in case the assets of business are not sufficient to meet all the debts. As such, the owner's personal possessions meet all the debts, such as he or she personal car and other assets could be sold for repaying the debt. Suppose the total outside liabilities of provision stores of XYZ, a sole proprietorship firm, is 1 lakh at the time of dissolution, but its assets are 40,000 only. In such a situation, the proprietor will bring rupees 60,000 from his personal sources. Suppose he is having 1 lakh he has to pay, means at least he has to get the 60,000 from his personal sources. This is what the proprietors has to meet the liabilities. The next one is no separate entity. There is no separate entity. In the eyes of law, no distinction is made between the sole trader and his business, as business does not have an identity separate from the owner. The owner is therefore held responsible for all the activities of the business. Lack of continuity of business. Since the owner and business are one and the same entity, death, insanity, imprisonment, physical ailment, or bankrupt of sole proprietor will have direct and detrimental effect on the business and may even closure of the business. So we have seen the different features of sole proprietorship. Let us see the merits of sole proprietorship. This sole proprietorship offers many advantages. The first merit is quick decision making. A sole proprietor enjoys a considerable degree of freedom in making business decisions as he is a only sole trader. Further, the decision making is prompt because there is no need to consult others. This may lead to timely capitalization of market opportunities as and when they arise. The next merit is confidentiality of information. Sole decision making authority enables the proprietor to keep all the information related to business operations confidential and maintain secrecy. Sole trader can keep all informations related to business operations confidential and maintain secrecy. He is not bound by law to publish accounts of his business. A sole trader is also not bound by law to publish firm's account, as I said. So all the decision making authority enables a proprietor to keep all the information related to business operations. The next merit is direct incentive. A sole proprietor directly reaps the benefits of his efforts as he is a sole recipient of the profit. He receives the profit. He is the only person to receive the profit in the business. The need to share the profits does not arise as he or she is a single owner. This provides maximum incentive to the sole trader to work hard. The next merit is sense of accomplishment. There is a personal satisfaction involved in working for oneself. The knowledge that one is responsible for the success of the business not only contributes to self satisfaction but also instills in the individual a sense of accomplishment and confidence in one's abilities. So, here the knowledge that one is responsible for the success of the business not only contributes to self satisfaction but also creates a sense of accomplishment and confidence to one's abilities. The next one is ease of formation and closure. An important merit of sole proprietorship is the possibility of entering into business with minimal legal formalities. There is no separate law that governs sole proprietorship. As the sole proprietorship is the least regulated form of business, it is easy to start and close a business as per the wish of the owner. So this is also considered as a important merit. We have seen the merits of sole proprietorship. Now let us see the limitations of sole proprietorship. Notwithstanding various advantages, sole proprietorship forms of organization is not free from limitations. So let us see some of the major limitations of sole proprietorship. So the first one is limited capital, which means the resources. The capital of a sole proprietor are limited in his personal savings and borrowings from others. Banks and other lending institutions may hesitate to extend a long term loan to a sole proprietor. Lack of resources is one of the major reasons why the size of the business rarely grows much and generally remains small. So therefore, this is one of the major drawback. So limited resources of sole proprietor is limited as his personal savings and borrowings from others. And also, banks and other lending institutions may hesitate to extend a long-term loan to the proprietor. An individual can bring only limited capital. Limited capital means limited size of a business and thus limited profit. The next limitation is limited life of business concern. That means limited managerial ability. The managerial ability of a proprietor is limited. He cannot avail the services of experts by employing them due to limited finance. In the eyes of law, the proprietorship and the owner are considered one and the same. Death, insolvency, or illness of a proprietor affects the business and can lead to its closure. So, this also is very important. The owner has to assume that the responsibility of varied managerial tasks such as purchasing, selling, financing, etc. It is rare to find an individual who excels in all these areas. Thus, decision making may not be balanced in all the cases. Also, due to limited resources, Sole proprietor may not be able to employ and retain talented, ambitious employees. So, this is considered as a limited managerial ability, which is a major limitation. The next one is unlimited liability. A major disadvantage of sole proprietorship is that the owner has unlimited liability. If the business fails, the creditors can recover their dues not merely from the business assets but also from the personal assets of the proprietor. A poor decision or an unfavorable circumstances can create serious financial burden on the owners. That is why a sole proprietor is less inclined to take a risk in the form of innovation as well as the expansion. The next one is a limited life of business. So here we can say that the life of business is very much limited. In the eyes of law, the proprietorship and the owner are considered one and the same. So, death, insolvency, or illness of a proprietor definitely affects the business and lead to the closure of the business. So, these are the limitations. So, today we have seen the sole proprietorship, merits, demerits, and its features. So, when you consider the features, we have seen that it is very easy to form a sole proprietorship, no need to have any legal formalities. And the liability, when you consider it is having a very much unlimited liability, this implies that the owner is personally responsible for payment of the debts. And when you consider the third feature, sole risk bearer and profit recipient, that means the sole proprietor is receiving all the profits. The risk of failure of business is borne all alone by the sole proprietor. So, however, if the business is successful, the proprietor enjoys all the benefits. And when you come to control, the entire business is controlled by the sole proprietor only. He can carry out his plans without any interference from others. And when you see the entity, that is the next feature, no separate entity. That means, in the eyes of law, there is no difference between the business as well as the sole trader. Both are the same. So, no distinction is made between the sole trader and his business, as the business does not have the identity separate from the owner. And the lack of business continuity, definitely the business will affect if any death or insanity or imprisonment or the sole proprietor will be affected. So these are the features. When you consider the merits, quick decision making is one of the merit because the sole proprietor can take his own decision. He enjoys a considerable degree of freedom in making the business decisions. When you see the confidentiality of information, all the secrets can be maintained as he is a one-lay sole trader. Sole decision making authority enables the proprietor to keep all the information related to the business operations confidential and maintain secrecy. And then the direct incentive, whatever the incomes comes to the business is only for the sole proprietor. So he directly reaps the benefits of his efforts as he is the only sole recipient of the profit. And when you see the sense of accomplishment, there is a personal satisfaction involving in working for oneself. The knowledge that one is responsible for the success of the business not only contributes the self satisfaction but also instills in individual sense of accomplishment. And the next very important merit is it is very easy to form and close the sole proprietorship. An important merit here why is there is no separate law that rules the government as it governs the sole proprietorship. So, as the sole proprietorship is the least regulated form of business, it is very easy to start and close the business as per the wish of the owner. After that, you have seen the limitations. We have seen that it has to be started with the limited resources. Resource of the proprietor is definitely is from his personal savings and borrowings from others. He must invest the capital. How he will invest the capital? Either it may be from his personal savings or he has to borrow from others. Otherwise, he has to borrow from banks and lending the institutions. And may hesitate to extend a long term loan to a sole proprietor because he has to pay the debt if he borrows from other institutions also, which mean a long term loan. Long term loan means more than 1 year. That means any loan which is borrowed more than 1 year is considered as long term loans. And then the business is having a limited life of concern. And the next limitation is unlimited liability. As he is a owner, single owner, definitely he'll be having unlimited liability. This is a major disadvantage. If the business fails, the creditors can recover the dues not merely from the business assets but also from the personal assets of the proprietor. And then the limited managerial ability, we have seen that the owner has to assume the responsibility of varied managerial tasks such as purchasing, selling, financing, etc. So it is very rare to find an individual who excels in all these areas. Home assignment. Explain the features of sole proprietorship. So you have to explain all the features of proprietorship. As I mentioned, formation and closure, liability, sole risk bearer and profit recipient, control, no separate legal entity, and lack of business continuity. And explain the merits and demerits of sole proprietorship. So you have to write the merits: quick decision making, confidentiality of information, direct incentives, sense of accomplishment, ease of formation, and closure. When you come for limitation, limited resources, limited life of business concern, unlimited liability, limited managerial ability. You have to write with the explanations.